Welcome back everybody, this is Liz Merrick and today I'm going to show you how to make black LMF fondant. LMF fondant is my own recipe called Liz Merrick fondant, and it's a combination of marshmallow fondant and a little bit of pre-made fondant, and the way that you mix it together results in this super stretchy, really pliable, really great fondant that you can use even if you've never used fondant before. And the link to the original fondant is down there underneath the video in the description. So to start off making our fondant, we're going to sift out 2 pounds of powdered sugar. And I like to use a scale, makes it really easy. I just put my sifter right over the bowl, put the powdered sugar right in the bowl until I reach 2 pounds. And of course you tare this before you start putting the powdered sugar in there to remove the weight of the bowl and everything from the scale. So you put the bowl and the sifter on the scale, you press tare, says 0, then you start adding your powdered sugar in that until it reaches 2 pounds. And then we're going to start sifting our powdered sugar, just using our hands to push it through the sieve. There's multiple different kinds of powdered sugar sifters you could use, but I just go old school. After our powdered sugar is sifted, we want to go ahead and melt our marshmallows. I buy my marshmallows from Winco in 1 pound bags, and I like to use the store brand marshmallows. They work better for me than things like Kraft or Jet Puff. If you can't find Winco brand where you're at, you know, just buy the marshmallows that are the store brand. Just make sure that they're 1 pound. If they're not 1 pound and they come in the 10-ounce bag, then go ahead and buy 2 bags and use 1.5 bags. So first we're going to melt them down for 40 seconds and give it a mix, and then we're going to put it back in the microwave for another 30 seconds. And while we're doing that, I'm going to add my shortening to the bowl, about 1/2 cup of shortening. You can see it's not super specific. I've been doing this many times, so I just kind of eyeball it, but for specific measurements it's about 1/2 cup. And we're going to take our marshmallows that are nicely melted now. You see all of the marshmallows are broken down. We're going to add in our 1 tablespoon of warm water. And the water just helps pull it away from the bowl so that it's easy to pour out into our mixing bowl. You see it just kind of easily gets everything away. If you don't have a microwave, you can melt your marshmallows over the stove top. And you could do this entire process by hand if you don't have a mixer, but obviously that's a little bit more work. Scrape all that goodness in there. Put our dough hook back on there. You have to use a dough hook. You can't use the whisk or the paddle. And we're just going to let that mix. And then we're going to add in our tablespoon and a half. It's kind of, again, we're kind of eyeballing it. Just don't add in too much food coloring because it will break the marshmallows. It breaks them down and you get these little pock marks in your finished product. So it might look dark gray at first, but your fondant will mature as it ages. So don't be tempted to add too much food coloring just to make it black immediately. Now we're going to go ahead and add in about 1/2 of our powdered sugar here, and we're going to let this mix with just 1/2 of the powdered sugar in the bowl for about 2 minutes. And while that's mixing, we're going to go ahead and add in 1/2 of one of these blocks of fondant. Again, not super specific in weights, so if you just buy one of the small boxes, that works fine. It's about 1.25 pounds. I'm just going to cut one of these blocks in half. This is the Wilton Decorator Preferred, and I'm going to warm this up in the microwave for about 40 seconds. You can see our black fondant is pulled away from the bowl, but we still want that to keep mixing for about 2 minutes until it's really, really smooth. It's going to stick back to the bowl again. It's going to look nice and silky. So don't be tempted to rush this part because this is what gives the fondant its pliability. And it makes it real stretchy and won't break and stuff. So you just got to give it time to work in the black food coloring and come back to this real silky smooth texture. You see how pretty and smooth and glossy that is? And this is actually really soft right now. You know, you might think that this is hard on your mixer, but this is really, really soft. I just put a little bit of shortening on my hands to help me scoop off the fondant off the hook so it doesn't stick to my hands. And then we're going to use a spatula to scrape out our black goo into the rest of the powdered sugar that's in the bowl. So I just want you to see what this looks like, you know, just in case you're like, this doesn't look right. You know, it's hard to know what something's supposed to look like when you make it for the first time, but this is what it should look like. And we're just going to scoop that all into our bowl, and then we're going to take our Wilton fondant, which by the way you can also use satin ice pre-made fondant if you prefer that, but I like the Wilton because you can get it for the 40% off at Joann's or Michael's using your coupon. It makes it really inexpensive. We're going to go grab that's been warmed up for 40 seconds and add that to our black fondant mixture here with our leftover powdered sugar. See, it's nice and soft. And we're just going to knead that all together. So this part is really important too. You know, it starts off being this real kind of crumbly mess because right now we're just incorporating the rest of the powdered sugar. And that takes, you know, a good minute or two to just kind of incorporate the rest of the sugar. And then after the sugar has been incorporated, we're going to take it onto the countertop and we're going to finish pulling it and kneading it. And we're going to use a technique that I call the taffy stretching technique, where you don't knead it like bread dough like this, where you go over and over. You start pulling the fondant towards you like it's a piece of taffy and folding it over. And that really activates the stretch factor and the glutens or whatever it is that's in fondant, the stretchiness inside of it, so that it doesn't tear. So it's important to do this every time you make fondant, not just black. So if you're making white or red or green or anything, you want to pull it like this until it's nice and stretchy. And then when you can pull the fondant without it tearing and it looks just real glossy and silky and beautiful, that's how you know it's done. So that takes probably another 2 minutes or so. You can see it's not sticking to the table. I've used almost all my powdered sugar. You might need more or less depending on the humidity in your area, but it should look like this. It should be very smooth. It should be very pliable. And you can see it's pretty much like a dark charcoal gray, but the color will develop over time and will look nice and black. If it's crumbly or if it's dry, just keep kneading it. Don't add anything else to it. Just keep stretching it like this until it's you can pull it without it breaking. It should just be just like that. So that's a great test to know when your fondant is done. So that's basically it. This is a great fondant, obviously, to use for the chalkboard cakes or for any modeling that you might want to do. Just add some Tylose powder to it to make it a little bit stiffer. You can get Tylose powder on Amazon, of course. And you can store this in a Ziploc bag. I just give it a nice coat of shortening and rub it over the top of it just to kind of seal in the moisture. And then I just put it into a Ziploc bag and keep it on the shelf for months, really. I mean, it doesn't really go bad. It's just sugar. And the most important thing, though, is every time you use this, you want to pop it in the microwave, if you have a microwave, for 30 seconds or so. Smaller pieces will need less time, maybe 10 or 15. And you really want to knead it and pull it like that taffy, like we did before, to make sure that's nice and stretchy and ready to use before each use. So that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video on how to make black fondant. If you have any questions, leave them for me down there in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And I will see you guys next time. Have a great day.